All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. We are live. We are at it again. Damn Daniel with the white vans. Here we are talking about some things yet again. We are talking about today emotional versus logical thinking. Why you choose what you choose. What actually, what's actually making your choices, right? And so this is a big thing, right? These are two very important ways of thinking. Now, some might think emotional thinking is not the wave, but there's a time when emotional thinking is the wave for you to carry. A lot of times, though, emotional thinking might get you in trouble. Now, before we get into this, my name is Manuel Velasco. I am a professional failure and I have over 200 plus $1,000 worth of failures. I'm looking to get that number up to $1 million. And then from there, probably the goal will be $10 million. So if you want to learn through my failures, hundreds of thousands of dollars in failures, then I recommend you do that. Versus you going on your own journey and then making your own mistakes. And that is very costly because it's your own money, right? And so the reason why I love books is because let me go that way. Yeah. Because books, they give you the opportunity to learn from some other person's mistakes so that you don't have to make those mistakes, right? So, for the example, we have a book over here. It's called The Shortness of Life. Life isn't short, it's just that we waste a lot of time with the life that we have, right? And so, there's always things to learn all around us, right? And so, this is the famous book. I didn't go over this last time. This is Meditations. And all I need is this few words on the back of the cover. That's why it's still sealed and I haven't opened it. So the back of it says, if someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake and any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self deception and ignorance. This this world we live in, this world we live in is a place where there's so many opportunities. But if we cannot see the opportunities, then how can we grab it for ourselves? And sometimes the opportunity is not for us and we force our way to grab it anyways. And so sometimes, yes, there's a need to use force. Sometimes there's not a need to use force. But that is on your own discernment, right? Now, going into logical thinking versus emotional thinking, let me explain the two first. So, logical thinking is actually understanding the consequences. And it's like, okay, if I pick up this cup and I drink the water, I might have to pee later. And that's probably what's going to happen. And that is the consequence of drinking this water. The emotional side of it is, yo, I'm thirsty right now. Phew, just start drinking it, right? And it's like, what if I didn't check the water first? What if somebody poisoned the water, right? I didn't do the logical thing of like, let me look at it. All right, looks good. All right, cool. Versus logical, it's just like I'm thirsty because I am thirsty. So there's no care for like discernment in the action. So emotional thinking is when you use your feelings more, right, for the decision and for the thoughts, right, processing it. Logical thinking is more so you understanding the the process of what's happening, right? And it's like, oh, this is logical. It makes sense that if I put the key in the door and I turn the key and I turn it the wrong way and it's still locked, that means logically I should turn it the right way. Emotionally, I turn the key the wrong way and I get frustrated and mad because I turned the key the wrong way instead of turning the key the right way. So it's like, okay, well, it could be hashed out very simply just by you turning it the other way. It's just a flick of the wrist, right? So why are we making that such a big deal? And so, um, the simple truth is, I will get into more trouble when I think emotionally than when I think logically. Because when I think emotionally, it's like it's kind of you going with assumptions. Because this feeling of jealousy, riles up in you, and you're like, oh man, like I'm jealous of my wife being on her phone with her family, let's say. And so I'm jealous of that. And that's the emotional side, right? It's like she could be texting me, right? Versus, oh, logically, yeah, she knows more people than just her husband. So she's gonna have to, touch base with all her family. And so it's like that's bound to happen. It's like why have jealousy on that? That doesn't make sense, right? But that's the logical side of the brain thinking about it. The emotional side, it could be devastating. And it's like, oh my God, why is this happening? Also, if you like what I'm talking about, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click the thumbs up, and also the subscribe button is down there below. And so when it comes to emotional thinking, it's like it has gotten me in big trouble. Again, I am not past any of this stuff. All this stuff I have done before. Maybe not the way I explain it in these stories that I tell, but I have done it in some way, shape, or form, right? And so I'm guilty of it. Let me clarify that, right? Going back to the book, hey, correct me if I'm wrong, please, because I'm guilty of mistakes just like everybody else. And that's the logical side, right? Reading that whole thing is because, hey, you might take offense to what I say, but hey, let me just clarify. I'm just here to make sure that I spread the truth that I know. And then if you find a truth that you know and it's different from mine and it's actual factual, it's not an opinion, then I'm very interested in figuring out like, okay, why was what I said wrong? And understanding that. And if I'm wrong, hey, I'm gonna tell the public I made a mistake. Hey, I'm wrong. But most people are so their hubris, their pride is so big, ego even, is so big that they cannot cope with being like I was wrong. And they put themselves in such a position that doesn't allow them to say, hey, look, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Like that's my bad. And it's like either way, when you say you're wrong, you could turn I'm wrong into like, oh my God, this guy, right? You could say it differently. Your tone could be different, right? You could have a logical tone or more emotional tone. Yeah, 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 I was wrong. You're right. You're right. Or it's like, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. I'm sorry about that. Let me fix that, right? And so after this water break, let me tell you the true definition. All right. So emotional thinking. Emotional thinking, as I remember now that I should be sharing my screen over here. Um, and mind you, this is the last one for the mind game. So after this, we're gonna do a recap on everything that we went through during this series. I don't know if it was 14 days plus, but it probably was 14 days plus. All right. So emotional thinking is when decisions and actions are driven primarily by feelings, often without careful analysis of facts or long-term consequences. Short-term thinking is a big factor to why a lot of people get in trouble because they're not looking at the bigger picture. Excuse me. They end up putting themselves in a position where they're screwed. Like they're absolutely screwed. Yeah, for sure. Because they made the decision uh in haste, in a rush. And so because they did that, now they put themselves in a predicament where they could have just waited it out and that would have been better for the long term. But instead, in the short term, they fucked themselves for the long term. It's kind of like how, rappers have a lot of opportunities where they can make money. And then some of them might catch a case, might go to jail, or, what have you, get caught with a gun that they're not supposed to be in possession of. And then they go to jail. Well, the logic the it was emotional behind that, right? It was the back in the day wave of like I need to carry the gun. You're rich enough now that you have security. You don't have to carry the gun. You can pay for a hell of a lot of security and don't have to do all that. But unfortunately, the feelings get caught, and we're emotional beings, right? Our feelings are so powerful, and so I say, one feeling is enough to make you rich. And the reason why I say that is imagine. the person who wins the lottery, they had the feeling that these were the numbers. This was it. Like, I know I put these numbers down, we won this shit. But it was just in that moment that they had that feeling. And so, because they carry that feeling in that moment, boom, they win the lottery. But then they revert to their old emotions, right? And their old emotions are filled with lack, filled with some misfortune happening, filled with negativities, filled with all these vibrations, these low vibrations. And then what happens? They go broke almost just as fast as they got rich. And why is that? Because their emotions carried them along the way. If they're logical about it, they would think about it better and maybe more be more prudent about it, long term thinking about it. And by doing that, they would forever have money for themselves and their whole legacy, their whole family, right? But they make the mistake of becoming too emotional with the money, right? For me, money is just a resource. It's just an energy, right? And in the sense of, if I provide you value, well, the return for that value that I provided, it's like it makes you so uncomfortable that maybe you click the link in the description box below, you join the I Learned It from the Internet community, and then you pay me either $5, $55, or $5,000. And then boom, that's a transfer of energy because I'm giving you energy right now, right? And so back to what we were talking about. That was emotional thinking, right? Logical thinking. What I just explained is logical thinking. By me showing up here every single day consistently, I'm thinking about the future. I'm thinking long term. And so I'm doing this consistency because I know the value that I provide. Once, somebody finds the gold in all this, oh, it's going to be a wrap. Everybody's going to click the link in the description box below, right? So that I'm not worried about that in the short term. I know what's going to happen in the long term. It is what it is. Now, logical thinking. And sorry, I'm a bit under the weather. Got a runny nose and shit. Logical thinking is when decisions are based on facts, reasons, and analysis, while still acknowledging emotions but not letting them override rational judgment. So, this is the part where it's like again, you're logically understanding your emotions, but you don't let them control you, right? And once you let your emotions control you, when you put your E in motion, you share control. Rise above it. This was your own. Putting your energy in motion is crazy because you're letting other people control you potentially. It's like if you let's say your boss says something about, hey, we're gonna fire you, or we're gonna cut your pay, or what have you. It's like you could just punch that motherfucker in the face, or you could just walk away. You have choices. But most people, when they're emotional, they feel like they don't have choices. And so that's really tough for them because, again, the logical factor is either sometimes the feelings, like I said, the feeling emotion is so strong that it could just deter you from, usually, yeah, you're straight and narrow, you understand things, you're very calm in the situation. But then in this one situation, boom, your emotions go out of control and then you go crazy. Well, that means that you have a lack of control in your emotions, and you're sharing that control with somebody else, and you're giving them the power, right? So if your girlfriend, your wife, your boss, your one of your coworkers, they get you mad, you're getting letting them control you. Why would you do that? So let me leave you with this, at least on this aspect, and then we'll go through a recap. Through changing my thinking, I can change my life. Simply enough. Literally, your thoughts. If you let your thoughts consume you, that's what you become. And so please make sure that whatever thoughts or whatever information that you're feeding this brain, right? This is information too that you're feeding this brain, that you don't allow the bad information in, right? And of course, you have to have a radar to understand what's good and what's bad. That is for you to literally decide. because I could be a good driver to somebody, and to the next person, I'm a horrible driver. And that's just based on this person's perspective, this person's point of view. So realize that. All right, let's get to the recap. Oh man, this is big now. We went through a lot of things. I don't know if you're ready for how many things we went through. So I'm gonna just count it off. We got some bullet points. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bullet points, right? It's pretty decent. All right, so we went through a better perspective is now a thought away. You literally control this. You literally could change your life right now by changing what's in here, what you're thinking about, right? Instantly. You now know how to reprogram yourself, or should I say, reprogramming yourself has never been easier, because before we talked about the Mind movie. If you didn't watch that video, make sure you go back to that video about reprogramming yourself, and I talk about the Mind movie. That's a very powerful tool. Then we have the 5 more mindset changing resources that I wish I knew earlier, which were the 5 books that I talked to you about. Those 5 books include Reverend Ike's book, include The Tough Minded Optimist, and a few other books that you should definitely go back and look at those. Look at that video. Very important stuff. If you have any more lies that you were taught, I'd definitely love to hear them. I know I gave you a few. I'm sure there's like hundreds more. I would love to stack up this list as high as possible and make sure that everything that I have on this list is like get it to like maybe 100, 200 different lies that we were told. Because honestly, we've been told a lot of lies that were not actually true. And as we became adults, we come to find out that adults just don't know shit. They gotta figure it out, just like we gotta figure it out, right? Tough coming from a kid who thinks the adults know it all, but realizing that adults just do their own research, which is basically what college is. Frequencies are all around you, and now you know how to use them. Remember this right here? Boom, it's metal, right? I could touch it. This right here, I don't know. It's some type of solid object, so I could touch this mic, right? And so all these things are objects that we could touch. In that video, it gets moist. So beware, be warned, and be careful because it does get wet. These affirmations are just a start. Use them to create your own. So the most important part is crafting, literally molding all this information into your own information in your own language, right? So your notes are gonna be one way, right? And then ideally your notes are like not word for word, but they put in your own understanding, right? And then from there, you reuse that and then you craft a better way. That's always how it's done. All these books have taught me something. And so by combining the information of, oh, yeah, by combining the information of all these books brings a tremendous amount of knowledge that I understand, that I could put all this information that I have here, I could put it together in a way that is very condensed in all forms, right? And now it allows me to have a broader point of view of everything. And so that's why it's important to, not just with the affirmations, with all the information, craft it into your own style, right? Use it for your own purposes in your own way. These are all resources, mind you. Every single one is just resources for you to like pull out your Batman utility belt, and then you're like, hey, I got one for that. It's the Mind movie, and you pull out the Mind movie, right? And then you're like, I need to change right now. You just think it, and so it is, right? You're speaking the future right now. As you talk, you speak the future, and everything that happened 10 minutes ago in this video was the past already. Remember that. That's how fast the future is happening. The future is happening literally right now. Now. All right. Meditation is a super tool. Use it and you will gain from it. For sure. It doesn't take that long. It only takes 5 minutes. You could literally do just 5 minutes a day. If you don't have 5 minutes, it sounds like you got other problems that you got to fix. You just need 5 minutes. So when you're parking that car, Sit in the car for 5 minutes after you parked it. If you're on the shitter, hey, take your shit and just sit there for 5 more minutes. Like there's so endless possibilities for you to literally sit for 5 minutes and meditate. Right? Ideally, it's 15 minutes, but again, it could be as short as 5 minutes. So wherever you could fit it in, fit it in. Excuse me. Monk mode. It's like when a caterpillar disappears and returns as a butterfly. It's changed just by that. And so it has to wrap itself up in a cocoon and be solo. And then through that harsh process of being solo and being wrapped up so long, it eventually breeds into a new transformation of itself. It becomes a butterfly and it starts to spread its wings, right? And now it can fly. It went from crawling or I don't know, fucking scrunching, like, cause it kind of moves like this as it moves out. But it goes from basically using its feet most of the time for its travel to now being able to see the world in a completely different perspective. And that's through disappearing for a little bit. That's monk mode, at least my monk mode. And if you're interested in it, again, go to the previous video and we go more in depth in all of these things. All right. Fears. Fears are simple. One consistent action puts you ahead of 50%. So all you have to do to become better than 50% of the world is just take action. Just by me making this YouTube video. It doesn't matter if somebody's watching or not, because I'm making this for a specific purpose. And to be honest, very selfish of me. Because the purpose of these videos is to have endless amounts of content for my sons. And so for my kids to watch, their kids to watch, their kids to watch, because this is what this is for really, is to create a vault of my wealth of knowledge, my information, so that they could always have that. Because if it's stuck in my brain, and God forbid I perish, at least in the physical sense, then what happens? There's no more teachings. All the teachings that are stuck in my head are useless because I took them with me apparently, right? I didn't give them to anybody who was here. So this is my form of basically making videos to give to my kids. And then as a byproduct, whoever's watching this video, you get the benefit of it, right? And so fears, just one action, taking action, is what makes you 50% better than most. All right. Finally, switching from emotional thinking to logical thinking. It makes for better decision making. Because as you know, emotions could go crazy. You don't know. Jealousy is well, should I say love is a hell of a drug because it breeds jealousy, and from jealousy you don't know what you could get. You could get somebody who maybe is so jealous that they're like, yeah, I got cheated on somebody. Maybe they're so jealous, yeah, I'm gonna kill that person. You don't know, but that stems from love. And so love is so powerful that it allows our emotions to run wild. And so being logical about it, it's not about ignoring your emotions. It's about just understanding, okay, this is the place I'm coming from. I'm coming from anger, but I gotta think about this calmly. Because his next decision is go dictate everything. Yeah, I could blow this man's head off. Or I could just walk away. I know it's an extreme, but it's literally the options. You could just literally walk away, or you could let whatever the scene happens. And so that scene could cause you to go to jail. It could cause you to lose your life. It could cause someone to lose their life. You don't know. But walking away, what does that cost? You just walk away. The situation dissipates as you distance yourself from that situation. But that has been mindset. And so I do have right here in the corner, it says it's like a line. It has mindset on top and talent on the bottom. And the reason why I have it that way is because mindset will always be talent. It doesn't matter how talented you are, the mindset is what's going to carry you. You could be talented and be cocky as shit, right? Or you could be talented and have the mind of like a fucking, like a lion, right? You just like super, super focused on what you got going on. And so the mind game is a super important game. And if you believe it's a super important game, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. make sure you show up to the next video that's happening at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time ish. Usually is what happens every single day for the past God knows how many days, a long time it's been that we've been doing these videos every single day, plus dropping a bunch more different content as well. So we're at least dropping 2 videos as of right now every single day. And so if you enjoyed this content, I'm sure there's plenty of content for you to look back on and binge watch all of those. So make sure you do. And I would love to hear your testimonial, or, send me some words of encouragement, or whatever you feel that you want to send to me, because it's like, hey, this information probably impacted you in a way. So let me hear that impact. But again, I'll see you guys on the next video, which is happening in less than 24 hours. See you then.